Right now on the National Weather Desk, what we know and still don't know about a possible winter storm this weekend. While in Michigan, a snowy, windy day leads to a massive 100-car pileup on an interstate.
It was absolute chaos. I mean, everyone was everywhere, people out of their cars, people rushing around, trying to get the ambulances through.
The northern lights were visible across southern states again last night. See how these magnificent light displays form.
When those charged particles land in the North Pole, exciting, the gas is in there.
Where's the snow? A shortage in the Cascades could impact water supplies later this year. How rapid warming in Alaska is impacting life across the last frontier.
The single most expensive impact of climate change is thawing permafrost.
And the dangers freezing spray can have on boaters.
From our nation's capital, this is the National Weather Desk.
Good morning and welcome to the National Weather Desk. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. There's a lot of talk this morning about the possibility of a massive winter storm impacting a large portion of the nation this weekend, and it's not just hype. But to be clear, it is still very early to talk about specifics. The National Weather Service says there is an increasing confidence that the storm will produce a swath of heavy snow and dangerous ice from the Great Plains to the East Coast. Impacts would start on Friday and could stretch from New Mexico all the way to New England and into the south. It's important to note the timing, track, and strength of this potential storm is still uncertain, and forecast changes are expected, but it's certainly worth paying attention to in the coming days. And wintry weather fell across Michigan on Monday, leading to a 100-car chain reaction pileup on an interstate. It started mid-morning near Grand Rapids. The highway finally reopened nearly 8 hours later. And while there were multiple injuries, Michigan State Police say there were no deaths. Carter Landis has more.
Between Hudsonville and Zeeland, folks, stay off the highway.
Investigators say it was just before 10:30 Monday morning the pileup on I-196 in Ottawa County began. And for close to 2 hours, it would continue with cars going off the road, crashing into one another, and people getting stranded.
We believe what happened is that a vehicle struck a semi-truck, a tractor trailer. That then set off a chain reaction. I can tell you that a couple dozen tractor trailers were involved in this incident, included in the 100 vehicles that were involved.
The Ottawa County Sheriff's Office was just one of several agencies on the scene, including Michigan State Police and the Zeeland Police Department. Authorities saying it could have been much worse.
So I can tell you that of the 10 people that have been injured, they're all minor injuries, which we're very grateful for. There were no fatalities and no major injuries.
We were driving up and the cars in front of us started piling up. So we were essentially we were probably only going 20, 30 miles an hour behind them, but just truly, they stopped in the middle of the road. We hit them, someone slammed into the side of us. We slammed into someone, so truly just part of that pileup.
It was absolute chaos. I mean, everyone was everywhere, people out of their cars, people rushing around, trying to get the ambulances through. It was pretty packed and crazy.
Well, the largest solar radiation storm in more than 2 decades hit the Earth overnight, bringing the northern lights to many parts of the globe. This photo was taken in Arkansas, a place that typically doesn't see the aurora. We're also seeing photos from Alabama, Illinois, New Mexico, as well as multiple northern states. The storm was rated a G4, which is capable of disrupting power systems and satellite operations. Meteorologist Gerard Bailey explains what causes the northern lights to appear.
So we are in the middle of a really active cycle within the sun. It's on an 11-year cycle, and we are in that high activity period. And the northern lights are caused by the solar wind coming off of the sun. But, you know, now we're in that active period, what we're getting are more of these bigger solar storms. So what's going on? Well, first of all, the Earth is protected by most of these solar storms by its magnetic field. Works just like that invisible magnetic field on a regular magnet. You can't see it, but at the poles, it's a little bit weaker. So what happens is when we get these stronger solar winds from a solar storm to come in, more of that energy of all kinds, because we are not just getting visible light and heat from the sun, we get it in all kinds of ways. We get it from ultraviolet light to X-rays to infrared, and you know, you can't see all these things and sense it, but you know, some of that energy, especially in those solar storms, makes it in, especially by the poles where that magnetic field draws in those charged particles. So when those charged particles land in the North Pole or anywhere in those northern parts of the Earth here, we're talking about it exciting the gases in there. It works just like a neon light bulb. The electrons excite the gases inside of a neon light bulb, making them glow. Well, here the charged particles hit those molecules, including oxygen, nitrogen, making for those stunning colors. And the colors are a direct result of what molecules they hit. For instance, they hit oxygen, they make the reds and the greens. They hit nitrogen, they make those blues and the purples that we see. They're just spectacular.
Well, something's been missing from the winter in the Pacific Northwest. Significant amounts of snow. Snowpack in the Cascade Mountains acts as a natural water reservoir, storing water in winter for use later in the year. But this year, the snowfall is way behind. And we have two reports, starting with the Ron Zahn in Seattle.
Long stretches of sunny weather don't come often during the winter in western Washington. While the January sunshine is great for being outdoors, we don't want it to go on much longer. This is the time of year we're supposed to be racking up rain in the lowlands and snow in the mountains. Take a look at this current snowpack map from the USDA's Natural Resources Conservation Service. The red dots show the snowpack at 50% of normal or less in the Cascades and Olympics. The orange dots show snowpack at just 50 to 69% of normal. Not something you want to see halfway through January. What comes next? According to forecasters at the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration's Climate Prediction Center, we can expect a 50 to 60% chance of above normal precipitation in the next couple weeks. Unfortunately, when it comes to temperatures, government forecasters are also calling for a 50 to 60% chance of above normal temps. Not the best news for skiers and snowboarders hoping for less sloppy skiing. Looking farther out, NOAA's 3-month seasonal outlook for February, March, and April shows equal chances of above or below normal temperatures. When it comes to precipitation, the outlook also shows equal chances of above or below normal rain and snow. That means it could be a tough haul trying to make up the snowpack we should already have in the mountains this time of year.
The streets of Government Camp covered in scattered bits of slushy snow. For small businesses like the Huckleberry Inn, that means less people and dramatically less profit. Right now, the assistant manager of the inn, Alex Rogers, says they're making roughly half of what they usually make this time of year.
Even hearing from my bosses when they talk about it, it's definitely been one of the more worst years that we've seen with the lack of snow up here, as it's very dependent during the winter season. A lot of people like to come up here skiing and snowboarding, sledding, even playing outside in the snow with their families. But right now, everyone's just getting ice cream instead of hot chocolate.
Rogers says they've had to cut the hours that employees can work. He says right now, employees are rotating their reduction in hours to soften the blow.
Now, when you're driving in thick fog, there's a simple mistake that can put you at risk. Thinking your lights are on when they're not. Madison McKay asked experts about daytime running lights and why they're just not enough for foggy driving.
Fog tip number 1, you gotta have your lights on.
The more visible you are, the easier it is for other vehicles to spot you.
You've lived here for your whole life.
Yeah.
Do you see people using the wrong lights a lot of the time?
Every day. I almost got hit this morning. Some of my coworkers almost got hit this morning. And it's because of that. It's because a lot of people assume that when the automatic daytime running lights come on, or with all this technology, a lot of the times the lights automatically come on and you're not thinking twice.
What is the difference between daytime running lights and fog lights, and which are the best ones to use in dense fog?
So daytime running lights are just standard. Your everyday light that comes on. Fog lamps are specifically for the road, for looking between the lines. It's a widespread light that doesn't go super far. It's more so just to see right in front of you.
Luis says the biggest part in driving in the fog safely is getting to know your individual car, because each model is going to have their setting a little bit different.
First thing you do, you jump in your car, the lights are automatically set. But in this fog, you're gonna turn it down, turns the automatic light control off, and then we manually turn on the headlamps. And then we also want to make sure we hit the fog lamps so you have max coverage.
Moral of the story, driving in the fog, high beams, never. Low beams, always. Fog lights, a must.
Now, for all the latest weather news and videos, be sure to check us out on social media. We're on all your favorite platforms. Just search the National Weather Desk or scan that QR code on the bottom left corner of your screen. And coming up on the National Weather Desk, we'll head to Alaska and find out how a warming climate and extreme weather events are reshaping the state. And we'll help you better understand the difference between snowstorms and blizzards.
This is meteorologist Hannah Sheehy with a look at the Northeast. Many of us waking up to plenty of sunshine today. Temperatures are pretty cold in the single digits and teens. We've got some lake effect snow showers moving off the lakes in New York. And we've got some clouds briefly increasing through the afternoon hours and then decreasing again overnight. Temperatures are falling into the single digits for some of us overnight. Highs today will right into the 20s for most of us and down into 27 around Atlantic City and 17 in Syracuse.
I'm Chief Meteorologist Gerard Bailey. Here's a look at the Mid-Atlantic region. Dry but sunny and cold as we move through your Tuesday into Wednesday as well. We'll be seeing those temperatures lingering into the very, very cold numbers until we get our next system to roll in and we start to see things recovering. But we're dry until at least Thursday. Again, we'll be talking about the temperatures. Highs may get stuck below freezing almost everywhere for Tuesday. We will see even colder temperatures overnight, but it will be milder going into Wednesday, likely rising above freezing.
Hi, meteorologist Jennifer Collins with a look at your southeast forecast. A chilly Tuesday afternoon for most of the southeast with temperatures in the 30s and 40s across the Carolinas, into the 50s across the northern Gulf Coast too. Slightly more mild conditions in the 60s and low 70s for central and south Florida. High pressure remains in control for Tuesday. This leaves the weather pattern quiet and mostly sunny. As we head into Wednesday, could see the chance for rain return for parts of the Mississippi River Valley through Wednesday afternoon.
I'm David Glenn, Chief Meteorologist at News Channel 9 in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and you're watching the National Weather Desk.
Well, last week, portions of the Northeast saw a lot of snow, but none of it came from a blizzard. That's because there's one ingredient that determines if a winter snowstorm is actually a blizzard. Meteorologist Jeff Exline explains.
This is the time of year I often receive requests for a blizzard. Hey, Jeff, can you give us a blizzard? Do you really know what a blizzard is? There's a difference between a blizzard and a snowstorm. In fact, before the 1870s, a blizzard was basically a cannon fire. In the 1870s, a newspaper in Iowa coined the term blizzard to describe the wind and the snow. So what separates a blizzard from a snowstorm is wind. And wind has to be gusting or regularly or sustained at around 35 miles per hour for at least 3 hours. Snow has to be falling, or there could be snow on the ground, and the visibility has to be a quarter mile or less. So that's the three criteria. So the biggest thing that separates blizzard from a snowstorm is the wind. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to have a high amount of snow. It just means you need to have wind, snow falling, or snow on the ground that's reducing the visibility. I always tell people, if you really want a blizzard, just head to your local Dairy Queen.
In places like Maine and the Great Lakes, winter carries a particular risk for boats. Meteorologist Hannah Sheehy explains the dangers of freezing spray.
Freezing spray. It behaves very similarly to freezing rain and freezing fog, where water droplets hit a surface, freeze upon contact, and this allows to build up ice quickly. Freezing spray is most likely when air temperatures drop below 29 degrees, winds exceed 15 knots, and there's some rough seas. This cold sea spray will freeze on a vessel's surface, which adds dangerous weight that can lead to instability and capsizing, making the boat top-heavy. Ice can quickly build up, especially on smaller vessels and already cold surfaces, making it hard to maneuver a ship. Wave height also matters. If seas are 0 to 3 feet, very little spray is expected, but remember, winds must also be present. 4 to 7 foot seas will bring a noticeable freezing spray that will start accumulating onto surfaces. And if the seas are 8 to 12 feet, the National Weather Service might consider issuing a heavy freezing spray watch or warning, because heavy spray is definitely more likely. Severe freezing spray is possible with seas over 13 feet.
Alaska is warming faster than any other state, nearly 4 times the global average. Permafrost is thawing, villages are sinking, homes are floating away, and indigenous communities are paying the highest price. Meteorologist Emily Gracie spoke with a climate expert about the extreme events reshaping the state.
Most of mainland Alaska typically has 5 to 9 months a year with snow on the ground. Shorten that up by 2, 3, 4, even 5 weeks in some places, and you're exposing the ground to a lot more sun. So one of the big problems that this is causing, and in the end of the 21st century, I think is going to get tallied up as the single most expensive impact of climate change, is thawing permafrost. As the annual average temperature crosses freezing, permafrost at that point is not long for this world.
Let's talk about the typhoon. So what happened with Halong?
Halong formed early October to the southeast of Japan. It took a quintessential track. It deepened very rapidly to a Category 4 typhoon. But the really unusual thing was, once it got to the Pribilof Islands, it made a turn to the northeast. And what we wound up with was the storm reached its maximum intensity between the Yukon Delta and St. Lawrence Island, so that's very close to the central Alaska mainland. The southeast quadrant of that storm had strong south to southeast winds, sustained 50, gusting 100 miles an hour over a moderately large area. And those kind of winds in that direction are just acting as a plow, pushing the Bering Sea water right into the Yukon Delta and that area there, which is extremely flat. The community of Kipnuk, state of Alaska, estimating 95% of the buildings were destroyed or severely damaged, not usable. In the community of Quingilingak, 35% of buildings destroyed or unusable. And that included homes that were floated off their foundations and pushed by the wind upriver with people inside them. I cannot imagine how terrifying that must have been. Just horrific.
And to hear more about how climate change is reshaping Alaska, listen to this week's episode of our podcast, Off the Radar. You can find Off the Radar wherever you get your podcasts.
As we honor Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. this week, we recognize not only his profound influence on our nation's past, but also the enduring power of his dream. Over 6 decades ago, on the marble steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C., stood the leader who helped shape our nation's conscience. His speech before hundreds of thousands rang out across the National Mall. I have a dream. Those famous words from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., more than ink on a page and more than syllables in the air, they were a call to action. And action followed. He led a movement of nonviolence to confront the systemic injustices of his time. With Dr. King at its helm, the civil rights movement ultimately achieved victories with the passage of the Civil Rights Act in 1964 and the Voting Rights Act in 1965. Segregation was outlawed, and Black Americans' right to vote was protected. Momentous progress marking a national turning point. But then came tragedy that shook the nation.
America is shocked and saddened by the brutal slaying tonight of Dr. Martin Luther King.
But King's vision for America did not die, because his dream on the steps of the monument became the dream of a generation.
I have a dream. I have a dream.
I have a dream that one day
this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed.
From breaking barriers at the highest level of the judiciary, Thurgood Marshall becomes the first Black Supreme Court justice.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men
are created equal.
To a seat at the table of arts and culture, Toni Morrison wins the Nobel Prize in Literature, the first Black woman to do so. All the way to the White House.
The God-given promise that all are equal, all are free, and all deserve a chance to pursue their full measure of happiness.
Many milestones have echoed Dr. King's dream, a nation where race no longer limits opportunity or leadership. Yet, an undeniable truth remains. Progress is still needed, and the work is ours to do.
Even though we face the difficulties of today,
And tomorrow,
I still have a dream.
The unwavering belief that together we can rise above is what makes America, America. For Amazing America, I'm Taylor Murray with the National News Desk.
Time now for a short break, but first we take to the skies over Los Angeles, California.
Well, a very good Tuesday morning, everyone. I'm meteorologist Andrew Buck-Michael. We have some snow showers starting to move in across the northern plains for the day today. It's going to be cold across the most of the Midwest. Only a few places getting into the 40s. Most of us are in the 20s, teens, or even some single digits for highs. Jumping into the day tomorrow, we do have some light snow showers trying to make their way in across the Great Lakes in the northern Midwest. By the time that we get to Thursday, quiet and cold.
Well, a good Tuesday morning to you. I'm meteorologist Chris Succi. Look at our forecast today across the region. We'll have a weak front settling to the south. Behind it, a little bit cooler. Also notice we get some clouds, Texas to the Gulf Coast with sprinkles or a couple of showers possible. Sunshine, chilly temperatures elsewhere, Little Rock and Oklahoma City. And then your day on Wednesday, chance for some scattered showers or a few thunderstorms, Louisiana, Arkansas, and portions of East Texas.
Good Tuesday morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Stella Sun. An area of high pressure will continue to hold its control over the Pacific Northwest, but it is creating a bit of an inversion. Air stagnation issues for parts of central Oregon as well as the Idaho Panhandle, as well as dense fog that's going to develop in the river valleys and communities towards central California. Daytime highs will be hovering around 53 degrees from Denver to Albuquerque, mostly in the 30s from Boise through SoCan, and 60s in LA.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
A double rainbow spotted over Fresno, California skies after weekend rain, and one state over sunrise over Las Vegas. Views from Bankhead National Forest in Alabama during a cold snap, icicles all around, and in Utah, a different set of icicles as sun sets in the background.
Listen to Off the Radar, new episodes every Tuesday. Find it wherever you get your podcasts.
Now, it's no fun to do so, but keeping your drains clear when it's snowy and icy has its benefits. Meteorologist Eric Kostriva explains.
As it gets colder, that means more ice, more of that water that is standing right now will start to freeze over. So keeping the drains clear of snow, ice, and whatever may be happening that's going into the drains, or at least trying to, will allow for less standing water, less ice on the roads. It gives us better road conditions, especially if you drive in some of those outer lanes. And it even gives us faster snow melt when we get warm enough.
We'd love to share your weather content on the air. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. Just search the National Weather Desk. We'll be right back. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm meteorologist Matt Ritter. Make it a great day. We'll see you right back here tomorrow for the National Weather Desk.